Ukraine War and Why It Happened 2022. Hello viewers and welcome to my YouTube channel. Vladimir Putin unleashed the biggest war in Europe since World War II with the justification that modern, Western-leaning Ukraine was a constant threat and Russia could not feel safe, develop and exist. Thousands of people have since died, towns and cities such as Mariupol lie in ruins and 13 million people have been displaced. But the questions remain. What was it all for and how will it end? Before we go further, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel for future updates. What was Putin's original goal? The Russian leader's initial aim was to overrun Ukraine and depose its government, ending for good its desire to join the Western defensive alliance NATO. After a month of failures, he abandoned his bid to capture the capital Kyiv and turned his ambitions to Ukraine's east and south. Launching the invasion on the 24th of February, he told the Russian people his goal was to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine. His declared aim was to protect people subjected to what he called 8 years of bullying and genocide by Ukraine's government. Another objective was soon added: ensuring Ukraine's neutral status. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov spoke of freeing Ukraine from oppression, while Foreign Intelligence Chief Sergei Naryshkin argued, Russia's future and its future place in the world are at stake. Ukraine's democratically elected president, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, said, "The enemy has designated me as target number 1, my family as target number 2. His advisor said Russian troops made 2 attempts to storm the presidential compound. Russia's leader refused to call it an invasion or a war. Moscow continues to coin Europe's biggest war since 1945, a special military operation. The claims of Nazis and genocide in Ukraine are completely unfounded but part of a narrative repeated by Russia for years. It's crazy, sometimes not even they can explain what they are referring to," complained Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba. However, an opinion piece by state-run news agency RIA Novosti made clear that denazification is inevitably also de-Ukrainization, in effect erasing the modern state. And it is Russia that is now accused by the international community of carrying out war crimes. Several countries including the US and Canada go further and call it genocide. After so much destruction, the Russian leader's words ring very hollow now. It is not our plan to occupy the Ukrainian territory. We do not intend to impose anything on anyone by force. Is there a way out? There is little sign of any negotiated end to this war in the immediate future. A few weeks into the war, Russia said it was considering the Ukrainian proposal of neutrality, but there have been no negotiations since the end of March. President Putin told the UN Secretary-General at the end of April, "We are negotiating. We do not reject talks," but he earlier declared negotiations at a dead end. After a meeting with the Russian leader, Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer gave a very downbeat assessment of a man who had entered into a logic of war. Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelenskyy had already accepted that Ukraine would not join NATO. It's a truth and it must be recognized. But after apparent Russian atrocities came to light in Bucha, Mariupol and elsewhere, he made it clear there would be no more talks until Russia withdrew from all territories seized since the 24th of February. In its offer of neutrality proposed at the end of March, Kyiv said, 1. Ukraine would become a non-aligned and non-nuclear state, with no foreign military bases or contingents on its territory. 2. Strict, legally binding guarantees would require other countries to protect a neutral Ukraine in the event of attack. 3. Within 3 days guarantor states would have to hold consultations and come to Ukraine's defense. 4. Ukraine would be allowed to join the European Union, but would not enter military political alliances, and any international exercises would require consent of guarantor states. 5. The future status of Russian-annexed Crimea would be negotiated over the next 15 years. But neutrality for Vladimir Putin was never likely to be enough. Ultimately, Putin wanted to divide the country, and I think it's becoming more evident that's what he wants. Says Barbara Zanchetta of King's College London's Department of War Studies. While the Kremlin wants to annex some areas of Ukraine, Tatiana Stanovaya believes much more important is the fate of Ukraine. Putin wants to end Ukraine as a current state. What's Putin's problem with NATO? For Russia's leader, the West's 30-member defensive military alliance has one aim: to split society in Russia and ultimately destroy it. In a Victory Day speech on the 9th of May, he accused NATO of launching an active military buildup on territories adjacent to Russia. Ahead of the war, he demanded that NATO turn the clock back to 1997 and reverse its eastward expansion, removing its forces and military infrastructure from member states that joined the alliance from 1997 and not deploying strike weapons near Russia's borders. That means Central Europe, Eastern Europe and the Baltics. In President Putin's eyes, the West promised back in 1990 that NATO would expand, not an inch to the east, but did so anyway. That was before the collapse of the Soviet Union, however, so the promise made to then Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev only referred to East Germany in the context of a reunified Germany. Mr. Gorbachev said later that the topic of NATO expansion was never discussed at the time. And the context in the 1990s was very different, says Barbara Zanchetta. It was not done as a provocation, there was a partnership for peace. NATO maintains it never intended to deploy combat troops on its eastern flank, until Russia annexed Crimea illegally in 2014. What next for Russia itself? Russia has tried to silence dissent. Protest of any kind is banned and more than 15,000 people have been detained. The Russian people will always be able to distinguish true patriots from scum and traitors, said President Putin. There has been a big exodus of IT workers and other professionals, and the political opposition has either fled or been jailed, as in the case of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. A wide array of Western sanctions threaten to contract Russia's economy by up to 10% this year and hike inflation by more than 20%. 1. Russia's central bank has had its assets frozen and major banks are shut out of the international SWIFT payment transfer network. 2. The US has banned imports of Russian oil and gas. The EU aims to cut gas imports by 2/3 within a year and is working on a phased oil embargo. The UK aims to phase out Russian oil by the end of 2022. 3. Russian airlines have been barred from airspace over the EU, UK, US and Canada. 4. Personal sanctions have been imposed on President Putin and his entourage. That brings us to the end of this video. Let us know your thought about Russia-Ukraine war in the comment section below. If you enjoy this video, please like the video and also subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in next video.